Here are 3 ways to mimic the top 0.1% of advertisers that you can implement today. Alex Hormozi said the top 0.1% of advertisers test 11 times the creative of regular advertisers. Test 11 times the creative? What does that even mean? First, create content. Do this by picking a topic, listing out subtopics, identifying problems, and presenting solutions. Second, isolate your best performing content after 100 pieces of content. Third, change the hook of that content 11 times and repost it every few weeks. This can be the opening line, the scenery, or an image if it's not a video. Going too slow? 11 times your volume and get a quicker feedback loop. Pro tip, 11 times how often you survey your audience for critical details of product launches. Put in the work of the top 0.1% and get the results of the top 0.1%. You may be like, Timmy, you're telling me to do the work of the top 0.1%, but I don't know how the top 0.1% work. And that's really what I want to dive into a little bit and how I'll be applying this to my stuff. So how do you brainstorm? That's the first question. You got to create that content and you got to put it out there consistently and pick the top performing content. So when creating content, this is how I go about brainstorming. I understand the purpose of the content. So when I'm making business content, for the longest time, I was just documenting people's dreams and goals. I realized that wasn't creating the traction I wanted. People couldn't keep coming back for more information because it didn't follow the same vein. So when I switched my niche, I was like, okay, every piece of content I have needs to have a purpose. They need to have something they're learning, something actionable that they can take from the content. And when you understand the purpose of the content, you're able to create content that is aligned with that purpose. So first, have an intent with every reel, every long form, every tweet. Have an intent behind all of it. Because when you focus that intent, you can start to ask questions around the topics. So when I was talking about dreams and goals, it was always the same questions with different people. And yes, it would get at their story, but again, it didn't keep people coming back. Why? There was nothing really connecting you from one person to the next person because they didn't have anything in common. As I've niched down into business, I'm like, okay, when it comes to buying and selling a business, you need to know how to find a deal, fund a deal. You need to know how to do the due diligence on a deal. You need to know how other entrepreneurs are impacting based on the stuff that they've done today. And then you need to know how to use community investing. You need to hear a little bit about my progress, and my content doesn't really stray too far from that, and some controversial business topics. Then I also teach on some business practicals. So as you understand the purpose of your content, you can start to hone in on your topics and ask questions about those topics. Now all my content teaches people about either finding a business, operating a business, what other impact entrepreneurs are doing, what I'm up to, and just some other kind of controversial business topics. After you've done asking questions around topics, look at what other influencers in the space are doing. I go to mergers and acquisitions influencers on Twitter for ideas all the time. I'm looking at their threads. I'm on their newsletters. Tony Robbins talks a little bit about this. He's like, when you don't know anything and you're young and you don't have experience that you can speak to, you need to document, not create. Or no, I think Gary Vee is the document, not create. But what Tony Robbins says is you need to be a reporter. You need to go gather that information and then you just spit out the information that you've gathered. Because right now your experience and how you grow that experience is talking to other people in the space, learning from their experience, and then giving that information to people who don't have exposure to that person. So I'm really in that reporter phase right now. And then as I get more experience operating my sober living properties, operating my businesses, a lot of the stuff I talk about will be from that experience as well. The other thing you do is map out the follower experience. When you're thinking about kind of how to produce like the top 0.1%, they are very intentional with what they do in their brainstorming. They're like, hey, my follower is going to see this content and it's going to solve this problem for them, which is going to make them want to do this. And when they want to do this, I will have a call to action that leads them to this resource, which pushes them down the sales funnel and ultimately leads to my product. So now you're brainstorming like the top 0.1%. Where do you find the time to do all this stuff? I would say batch your content planning sessions and your content recording sessions. And I can speak to this and how it shows up in my life today, actually. So every Saturday, I'm planning my content. Throughout the week, I plan kind of the topics and I go through and like, okay, what are we going to talk about with finding a business, operating a business, impact entrepreneurs, community investing, kind of my update. I go through all that, controversial business topics, due diligence. And when I do that, I do it through the week. Topics, right? Just topics. On Saturday, I write the scripts. On Sunday, I do the recording. So that's how I batch all my stuff. And, I can think of topics, 1 or 2 a day in 10 minutes a day. And on Saturday, I write the scripts in like an hour or 2. Then on Sunday, it's kind of a recording slog, but it happens in 2 to 3 hours really. So I'm batching my recording sessions. What do I do next? Optimize for consistency. I'm trying to put out daily content, daily podcasts. That might be a little hard for some of you guys, but initially my daily energy was coming from something that took me 7 hours a week. I would hop on 7 calls a week and it would be about an hour long, and I would ask people the same questions and I'd get different answers every time, and then we would just have a flowing conversation. That's what the majority of my podcast was. When that started to slack, I started reading scripture and talking about scripture and how that applied to business. And then I had some interview and some business scripture. And now I'm getting to the point where I'm batching this content on the weekends and just giving myself grace if I slip up at one point, which I'm not trying to, but I want to be more intentional with the content I make, and I'd rather put out quality consistently than just put out random stuff for the sake of consistency. So now you're brainstorming like the top 0.1%. You are batching your content and managing your time like the top 0.1%. What do you do next? You ask yourself, how do I survey people? And I don't have a ton of experience with this, but really it comes down to only presenting 2 options. Like, do you want this or this? Because a confused mind doesn't buy. And I know that's a marketing saying, but also a confused mind, like too many options just will freeze people up. And so you make sure that you ask stuff in a very simple way. Do you want this or this? And then you take the winner, put it against your next option. Do you want this or this? Take the winner and just run it through like a tournament of your ideas and options, right? And only do it for the important stuff. Don't do it for like, kind of little things of like what color shirt I'm wearing today. No, it's like, what content do you guys want to see going forward? Business mind content or more real estate focused content? That would be something I should do. I should do it for my rebrand. Do you guys like the brand name, the new 1%? Or do you like the connected killers or something? I don't know. The connected business people are, I don't have another name because I like the new 1% so much. But you do those surveys for your audience when you're making a big strategic shift in content, in branding, or in strategy. Ask them what they would prefer. And so Alex Hormozi did it for $100 million leads and got shocking results for a 1-word difference. I mean, even in his book, $100 Million Offers, he tested some a little bit. And just with the subtitles, I don't even know what his subtitles are for his $100 Million Leads book. Let's see, it's How to Get Strangers to Want to Buy Your Stuff. Or How to Get Strangers to Buy Your Stuff. He tested that and there was a huge difference. How to get people versus strangers to want to buy your stuff. Huge difference. And so it was just the testing that Hormozi did with his audience, and he talks about how you don't need a big audience to do it. I have like 800 followers on Instagram, 849 I think, and I could talk to those people right now and put out a survey on my story and be like, hey, what do you guys prefer based on kind of what you want to see going forward from my brand and based on these couple of options, right? So that's what we got for you guys today on the show. Brainstorm like the top 0.1%, manage your time like the top 0.1%, and then engage your audience and survey them like the top 0.1%. And obviously go to Hormozi for more of that surveying, because I didn't do his results justice there. So thank you guys for coming on the show. We will see you on the next one. And on that note, we're out.